Hello, everybody. I'm Skip Elshammer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And welcome July. I'm not a fan of July. It's part of summer, and I'm not a fan of summer. It's my least favorite time of the year because I am a delicate flower, and I wilt when it's too hot or too damp. So that's my story. That's why I like to sit inside in dark, cool places with my old films and watch them and show them to you. This film that we're going to watch is from Rensselaer Polytechnic, which is based in Troy, New York. And they gave me all their films. And they said, oh, yeah, we have it all transferred. And I was like, okay. So this is a pitch for you to maybe seek admission to RPI, and hopefully, I noticed there's some music in here. Hopefully it won't interrupt the stream. So enjoy.
Hello, I'm Rick Bennett, majoring in chemistry, and even though I spend a lot of time in lab, I've found time to work for instructional media as a film production assistant. One of the most interesting films we've been working on lately is one designed to show prospective students like yourselves just what Rensselaer is all about. This film centers on people at RPI, and specifically undergraduate students, and the various activities that they become involved with. We shot a lot of footage. I'd like you to take a look at some of it with me. Radio is an important feature of life for students.
The Albany area forecast, periods of rain today with thunderstorms possible, highs in the 50s. Precipitation probability decreasing to 60% tonight and to 40% tomorrow.
You're listening to WRPI in Troy, New York.
My name's Maureen Regan, and I'm a senior chemical engineer at RPI. The rest of the time I spend being program director here at WRPI, the student-run radio station, affectionately known as WRPI, and we're located down in the basement of the communications center. Right now I'm standing here amongst our album collection of about 18,000 albums. We play everything from rock to jazz, classical, soul, and a category that we call other. You can do many activities down here ranging from announcing to engineering to fixing things when they break or even when they don't. And then there's always little things that have to be done, like typing and artwork.
Some of our technological efforts are geared toward the automobile.
Basically, the autocross is a safety-related type of thing. Everybody gets out there and has a good time, sure, and they get to see how fast their cars will go around little tight corners. But its biggest aspect, I feel, is the fact that it gets people to be better drivers and to know how their cars handle in the extremes. A lot of people just drive around day after day, year after year, and never find out what their car does when it's really pushed to the limit. Things break at autocrosses. Some people found that out today.
Oh, I'm Keith Boardman. I'm senior in mechanical engineering here at RPI. This garage I'm working in is run by the Rensselaer Sports Car Association, which is one of the student organizations on campus. Contrary to the way the name sounds, you don't need a sports car to belong. You have everything from VWs to Porsches.
I've seen people here that came in as freshmen who were very poor drivers, competed in our autocrosses for several years now, and are much safer highway drivers. It's also good for the car in sort of a reverse way, in that you go out and you use up a little of the rubber on your tires and possibly overheat your engine a little, or a little rough on your gearbox, but you find out what things in your car are not up to the way they should be.
Hockey's the big sport on campus. But there are also club sports such as ultimate frisbee. There are plenty of tennis courts, and open spaces to throw or kick a ball around. Some of us are designing a vehicle of the type that may one day survey the Martian landscape.
We gather obstacle data from a laser system on the front of the vehicle and transmit it to a computer where we process the information and try to determine a good path for the vehicle to go on. My name's Dave Robbins, and I'm a senior electrical engineer. I've been working on the Mars project for about a year now. What I've been doing is computer programming. I think the Mars project's allowed a lot of people to get hands-on experience, which you can't really get in the classroom. It's rather unique, and I've benefited from it quite a bit, I think.
Hi, my name is Harold Herzig, and I'm the one-wheeled wonder here at RPI. Computer science major, class of 79. Girls, for the greatest time of your life, 914-634-8182.
The Student Union is the center of campus social activity.
My name is Doug Dorrance. I'm a senior here in civil engineering. When I'm not going to school, I'm involved in UPAC, the Union Programs and Activities Committee. Most of our events revolve around the Union, which is really kind of the living room of the campus. We have a bookstore downstairs where you can buy all your textbooks. And all kinds of laundry detergent, anything you need at the last second. There's a post office to mail an occasional letter if you ever write home for money. We have a barber shop where you can get your hair cut right before you go home so you look presentable. Besides having these services, the Union has all kinds of other things it offers to us. There's a Rathskeller downstairs where you can get something to eat or drink almost all day long. And an art gallery. We have a games room where you can bowl, waste all your money, have lots of fun late at night. Coffee houses, concerts, and all kinds of events for students to relax when they're not going to school.
Were you ever so in love you couldn't wait to get to sleep and dream about the one you wish was there beside you? In the past few days I've grown to love your giggles on the phone and how we hug so nicely. And from the first time that I saw you, had I known you better then, I would have said those.
That's Lynette Santoro, and I'm Tom Fogel, and we're both RPI students, or ex-RPI students. We're now attending Albany Medical College. We're in the biomed program. And for the last 3 years, we've been playing guitar together. We played at RPI before, and we played in Albany at different places, and it's meant a lot to us, and it's kept us, you know, sane, I guess, yeah.
I enjoy playing here. You know, I've played here about 3 times. This is going to be the 3rd. You know, this seems to be the nicest audience around, really, very receptive. And you know, people just kind of come in and sit down, and it's not like a bar or anything like that. It's a nice audience to play to.
In the Imaging Devices Lab, some of us play chess with computers.
My name is Kevin Gross. I'm a senior studying computer and systems engineering. I decided to get involved with this because I felt really getting involved, getting my hands on something would be really valuable as opposed to just studying textbooks. What we have is an interactive type system, which means that you can work in real time with the machine. You can sit there and interact with it. One sort of thing we're working on right now is a hidden line program, and what it does is takes a nice geometrical object, and if you draw it out on the machine, you can ask this program to then remove any of those lines which you wouldn't normally see. There are a lot of fun things you can do with a computer that has a nice big TV tube on it. For example, a lot of those games you might see in a bar, ping pong, airplanes, things like that, you can play here. And the nice thing with these games is that you don't have to put a quarter in to play.
The traditional rite of spring at Rensselaer is the Grand Marshal Week.
My name's Annette Robinson. I'm a senior psych major at RPI, but I get involved in other activities on campus. For the past 6 months, 12 other people and I, acting as chairman, have been working on GM Week, and this is it. This is Grand Marshal Week.
So there's some copyrighted music that I'm going to mute temporarily.
My name is Ira Tackell, and I'm running for Grand Marshal at RPI. I think a lot of the festivities are fun and games, and I think it's very important, the fun and games part, because it shows that the TOOT student is not just a machine and he really is human. But I think the GM and PU elections, as well as all senator and representative elections, are the real, well, not force, but the real crux behind GM Week, and that this is the individual student's chance to really get out and voice their views on issues, vote for the candidates that they feel are competent. And I think this year, perhaps more than before, at least what we're trying to do is communicate with the students so that they can make an intelligent decision. Yes, I do want this individual, or no, I don't, but not go to the polls and say, well, I don't know either of them, so I'll put a check here.
The next Grand Marshal is Ira Tackell. 1,172 to 742. Cover up your balls, fine.
Well, it's nice to be up here, and I just want to thank everybody that turned out at the polls today. We really did well with the 58%, and it shows a lot of concern on the part of the students. And I don't know what else to say except thank you very much.
Well, we've shown you a lot of places and different activities, but what really makes RPI tick is people. We hope that somewhere in this film you've seen someone just like you.
So I think that music also brought up something. Yeah, so what's interesting is that film of the Mars lander rover. I have that original footage as part of this big batch of films. So it's kind of interesting to see it show up in another film. And so this was 1976. This is the 1976 revision or version of the admission film for Rensselaer Polytechnic. I went to college in '84, and it felt kind of similar to this. It had the same vibe. So it's kind of interesting. All right, so it looks like we went through some R's. Here's another R film. This is Risk Factors for Coronary Disease. Enjoy.
Good morning, Bill. Could I talk to you for a moment?
Sure. What's happening?
Suppose I were to give you information that might, just might, add 20 years to your life.
Come on, you're kidding me.
Do you think I'm kidding, Ernie?
What's the catch?
There's no catch. I mean just what I say.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Rosalie?
Say, are you selling something?
No, I'm talking about increasing your lifespan by decreasing the risk of heart disease.
Do I look like I'm gonna have a heart attack?
No, and neither do most victims. And yet, heart attack is our greatest killer. Were you aware of that fact, Ernie?
Well, I don't know. I'm doing fine just the way I am.
Have you ever been seriously sick?
Nah, I've never been sick a day in my life.
How about you, Rosalie? Are you in pretty good health?
Sure. I feel fine.
That's great. But what about 5, 10, 20 years from now? Think about this fact. 50%, 1 out of every 2 Americans dies from heart attack or stroke. That's bad news. But here's good news. Doctors and heart researchers have discovered the causes of heart disease. They know that it works silently in your body over the years, often without any symptoms, until it's too late. They have proved that certain risks lead to heart disease, and that by reducing these risks, you can cut down the chance of having a heart attack or stroke. Heart disease does not affect just the heart, but is really a disease of all the blood vessels in the body, including the arteries that supply the heart. This disease of the arteries is called atherosclerosis, or sometimes arteriosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. It involves your entire system and is one of the underlying causes of heart attack and stroke. It's easier to understand heart disease when you know how your circulatory system works. It consists of your heart and blood vessels. The heart pumps blood to the lungs, where it picks up oxygen. Blood returns to the heart and is pumped from there throughout your body, carrying oxygen and good nutrients to nourish all your cells and tissues. The smooth flow of blood depends on the condition of your arteries. When they're flexible and clean inside, everything is fine. But when they harden or begin to clog up, blood flow is restricted. The tissues receive less nourishment, and trouble begins. When atherosclerosis is present, fats and other substances thicken the walls of the arteries and make the opening more and more narrow. Your arteries are like clogged plumbing, with the same result. The heart muscle itself is supplied with blood carried by the coronary arteries, which are located on the surface of the heart itself. When these coronary arteries are affected by atherosclerosis, the heart must work with reduced supplies of oxygen and food carried by the blood. Often the result is a heart attack. A stroke occurs when the artery affected is one supplying blood to the brain. This is a process that can begin when you're 18. There'll be no warning at all that you have heart disease for 30 or 40 years. You're feeling fine. Then, one day, but let's get back to the good news. We've identified the risks that lead to heart disease. And, except for 3, we can reduce, control, or completely eliminate them. The 3 risks we can't change and therefore must live with are age, being male, and heredity. If heart attacks or strokes seem to be more common in your family, it is even more important to start paying attention to the 3 major heart risk factors that can be controlled. They are smoking, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Cigarette smoking is a risk. High blood pressure is a risk. And a high level of cholesterol in your blood is a risk. You know that smoking is bad for your lungs. What you may not know is that it also harms your heart and circulatory system. Smoking increases your blood pressure and makes your heart beat faster. But probably more important is the effect of cigarette smoking on the walls of the arteries. Smoking seems to speed up the process of atherosclerosis. Smoking also replaces some of the oxygen in your blood with carbon monoxide. High blood pressure, or hypertension, is the second major risk factor. Whether you're a calm or an aggressive person, there are usually no symptoms to tell you that you have this condition. That's why it's often called the silent killer. So, while you're going about your business, high-pressure blood is silently damaging the insides of your arteries and contributing to the process of atherosclerosis, which underlies both heart disease and stroke. A high blood cholesterol level is the 3rd major risk factor. Various fatty substances carried in the blood contribute to the process of atherosclerosis. Since cholesterol is easily measured and has been thoroughly studied, it is the fatty substance most commonly discussed in relation to heart disease. Elevated cholesterol levels result from eating foods containing cholesterol and certain fats and fatty foods that the body can convert to cholesterol. When excess amounts are carried by the blood, they are deposited on the walls of the arteries. As these deposits build up, they harden the arteries and narrow them to the point where blood flow is restricted and clots may form. If improper diet or other factors cause you to develop a high level of cholesterol, then one day, without any warning at all, you may be in danger of having a heart attack or stroke. The major heart risk factors multiply. Having just one doubles your chance of heart attack or stroke. If you have 2, your risk is quadrupled. And having all 3 increases your risk to more than 8 times that of a person with none of the risks. But the greatest risk of all is ignoring these major factors, ignoring them because you feel well and have no present symptoms of heart disease. Along with the proven risks of smoking, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, there are several probable factors which you can also bring under control. These are diabetes, obesity, stress, and lack of exercise. The more you weigh, the harder your heart must work. It's like always carrying a 25-pound pack on your back. By maintaining a reasonable weight, you eliminate this extra work. Stress is another probable risk factor. Some doctors believe that people who always rush around trying to achieve the greatest possible amount in the shortest possible time are more likely to have heart disease than their more relaxed counterparts. So take a moment to examine situations that cause stress in your life and see how you can reduce them and your risk of heart disease.
Well, we can have it there in 2 weeks. We can try to do better than that.
How am I supposed to build this order up in Pennsylvania?
I think there are 10.
I'll check it with George.
Okay. Excuse me. Yeah, we can do... We might get it there a little bit sooner than that.
If I don't get that information, I'm going to lose this client.
I'll be with you in a minute, okay, Ernie?
Okay.
Right. Yes. Well, we'll try to... Okay?
Thank you. Hello, Bill Gorman. Can I help you? Oh, Mr. Parker, yes, sir.
Hey, Bill, can I see you a minute?
Ernie, I'm on the telephone. Can you wait just a minute? Thank
Okay,
you.
I need you on this order.
All right, Mr. Parker. Now, what can we do for you? So you need 14 on that order?
Mr. Clark. Oh, hello, Mr. Johnson. No, I'm still waiting for that information. Can you hold just a minute, please? Thank you. Clark here. Oh, Tom, hey, I gotta have those samples. If I don't have them by today, Can you hold just a minute? Thank you. Clark. Hello, Mr. Kramer. The best I can do on that order is 1 week. Is that okay with you?
Reducing stress will not only lower your blood pressure, it will also make it easier to quit smoking.
Hello? Oh, hi, Charlie. Nah, I don't think I want to go play golf today. No, not really. I'm going to stay home, watch the ball game. Kind of lay around. Right.
Of course, you don't want to become so relaxed that you forget to exercise once in a while. In addition to making you feel better, regular exercise improves circulation and helps your heart work more efficiently.
Okay. Now run it by me one more time. What's the bottom line?
Okay, it's this. Do something now before it's too late. Check yourself out now before there are any signs of trouble. You can reduce or eliminate the 3 major risks of heart disease. Check your blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, there are medicines to control it. And what is there to say about smoking that you haven't already told yourself? Except that smoking is just as much a risk factor in heart disease as it is in lung cancer. You can control your cholesterol level by what you eat. Enjoy a diet built around chicken, fish, and limited amounts of lean meat. Salads and vegetables, low-fat milk products, and margarine. Ask your doctor to check your cholesterol level during your next regular visit. It's a proven fact. Smoking, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol cause heart disease. Eliminate these factors, and you will greatly reduce your risk of heart attack and stroke. You could add 20 years to your life.
All right.
I have all that stuff, all those factors: high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You know, I think it's the middle-aged man, middle-aged diet. It's all that stuff's catching up. So we learned how to take care of your heart. Let's learn how to take care of V-belts. Do you have V-belts in your life? Well, this film is all about how to take care of them. V-belts. Enjoy.
The V-belt is one of industry's most popular means of power transmission. Essentially, the V-belt is easy to install, simple to select, and will provide years of reliable service through the proper installation and maintenance procedures. In general, there are 4 main areas that will ensure good V-belt maintenance and operation. They are sheave groove inspection, belt installation, alignment, and belt tensioning. Whenever beginning to inspect any type of electrically driven machinery, always lock out and tag the main disconnect of the equipment being worked on. Remove the belt guard and clean it. This will prevent dirt and other foreign material from dropping off the guard and collecting on the belts or in the sheave grooves. The guard also protects the belts from the surrounding outside environment. Examine the V-belts. If they are cracked, frayed, or swollen, replace them with a matched set. V-belts should be kept clean. If dirt has been caked on, a stiff bristle brush may be used to clean the belts. Particles of dirt tend to embed themselves into the belts, making them coarse and rough, causing shiv wear. Soap and water may be used to clean the belts in environments that cause oil and grease to collect on them. Oil or grease will make the belts soften and swell up. Once these physical properties of the belts are changed, it is not long before they fail completely. Under no circumstances is the use of belt dressings recommended. They often have a solvent effect upon rubber compounds, which will increase the pulling power at the expense of belt deterioration. Inspect the shiv grooves for any foreign materials. Materials lodged in the shivs will force the belts from their path in the grooves, causing them to turn over. This problem is resolved by cleaning the shivs. Check the tensioning of the belts. 95% of all problems encountered with V-belts will be due to inadequate tension. In most cases, the problem can be corrected by tightening the belts. Loosen the motor hold-down bolts and tighten the belts by increasing the distance between the two shafts. On most drives, this is done by moving the motor mount back until both spans of the belts are snug. Be sure to re-tighten the motor hold-down bolts. Alignment should be checked any time there has been a change made in the distance between the two shafts. Probably the easiest and most common way of determining shiv alignment is with a straight edge. The straight edge is placed between the outside edges of the two shivs. Contact should be made at two distinct points along the outside perimeter of each shiv. Rotate the shivs a half turn and check again. Two distinct points of contact should be made on each shiv. In some cases, a straight edge may not be practical due to the distance between the shivs. A string line may be used to check the alignment. As with the straight edge, there should be two distinct points of contact made on the outside perimeter of each shiv. Repeat the process, only this time on the inside face of the shivs. Again, two distinct points of contact should be obtained on each shiv. On horizontal drives, check for angular misalignment by seeing that both shivs are in the same vertical plane and the belts are not twisted. While the machinery is operating, it is important to look at the slack side of a drive to be sure that all the belts are running with a slight bow. If one or more of the belts is running loose, the drive needs to be retensioned or the belts replaced with a matched set. If the belts need to be replaced, begin by loosening the motor mount and remove the old belts. Never attempt to force or pry belts on or off a drive. This will cause the outer fabric of the belts to crack or rupture the inner cords, resulting in a shortened belt life, turnover, or belt breakage. Shiv grooves should be cleaned of all foreign matter. Dirty shivs can be cleaned using a safe solvent and rag. If left unchecked, dirty shivs will greatly reduce the operating efficiency of the belts and increase groove wear. To check for shiv groove wear, use a shiv gauge. Select the proper gauge according to the shiv diameter and insert it into the groove. The gauge rim should rest on top of the outside diameter of the shiv, and the inside should lie flush against the side wall of the groove. On multiple belted drives, be sure to check all the shiv grooves for uniformity. A A common pattern for groove wear is one where the side walls become concave or dished out. If it is to the point where the belts no longer possess their wedging action, or more than 1/32 of an inch, then the shivs should be replaced. Normally, this will occur on the smaller shiv. If the shivs are in good condition, then proceed to install the new belts. Take the properly marked and matched set of belts, install them by simply placing them over the shiv grooves. Allow for the motor mount to be loosened sufficiently so that no force is needed to put the belts over the shivs. Arrange the belts so that all the slack is on one side. Loosen the motor hold-down bolts, then tension the belts by increasing the distance between the two shafts until the top and bottom spans of the belts are snug. As a standard procedure, and after any adjustment in the distance between the shafts, check the shiv alignment. Before making any more adjustments, run the drive for about 15 to 20 minutes. This will give the belts time to seat themselves in the shiv grooves. Visibly, the drive should run with the tension side tight and the slack side with a slight bow. Some important steps to remember when installing multiple belts are to make sure all belts are replaced as a matching set. New and used belts should never be used together. Used belts have already gone through a stretching period, whereas the new ones have not. Since new belts would be tighter around the shivs, they will absorb the brunt of the load. This not only causes the new belts to wear rapidly, but also causes shiv groove wear. It is also recommended that belts by different manufacturers not be used. Different manufacturers' belts will have different strength and stretch patterns. Mixing them will cause mismatching, resulting in short belt life. Sticking with one manufacturer will make identification and selection of belts much easier, and also result in better drive performance. Here are some simple but accurate ways of determining correct belt tension. Using the eyes, observe the running drive. It should operate with the tension side tight and the slack side with a slight bow when operating at peak load or at startup. Using the ears, listen for a squeal when the drive is started or at peak load period. If a squeal is heard, the belts are too loose. Tighten the belts until the squeal is no longer heard. Using the hands, feel the shiv grooves. They should not be running hot. If the mechanic can place his hand in the groove for any period of time, then they are running cool enough. Hot shivs are usually caused by belts whose wedging action is lost, resulting in belt slippage. Due to the nature of the materials used in belt construction and their initial stretching characteristics, it may be necessary to retension the new belts after a day or so of operation. Another method of checking V-belt tension is with a tensiometer. Always follow the manufacturer's guides and tables when using this method. Belts that are over-tensioned can be a problem. Tight-running belts cause the bearings to overheat as a result of too much strain being put on the drive. To correct overloaded bearings, loosen the belts and apply the correct tension. Mounting the shiv close to the bearings will also reduce this strain. Once in a while, drives may be shut down over a long period of time. In such cases, it is recommended that the tension of the belts be relaxed. This is done to avoid having the belts set. When belts set, they stiffen and harden, causing them to lose their strength. Relax the belts by loosening the motor. The belts will hang loosely over the shivs without setting. When returning the drive back into operation, the belts have to be retensioned and the shivs realigned. Looking back on what has been discussed about the V-belt, the the single most important factor in obtaining the best operating efficiency is to maintain the proper belt tension. Keep in mind that V-belts generate power through their wedging action between the sheave sidewalls and the V-belt. Tension is applied to gain this wedging action. On drives with long spans, vibration or pulsating loads can cause individual V-belts to turn over, break, or jump off the drive. This is referred to as belt whip. Banded belts are used in these circumstances to dampen the vibration, reducing belt whip. Another consideration in V-belt operation efficiency is belt fit. As a rule of thumb, each belt should ride in the sheave groove so that the top surface of the belt is just above the highest point of the sheave. This may differ slightly with different sheaves and belt selection. In accordance with the Occupational Safety and Health Act, remember to reinstall the belt guard covering the belts and sheaves. Properly installed and maintained V-belts will deliver years of reliable service. To ensure the quality of the V-belts, proper storage should be practiced. V-belts should be stored in a cool, dry place and out of direct sunlight. If belts have to be stored in boxes or piles, the contents or stacks should be limited to a small number. Belts stored on top of one another will cause the bottom belts to distort. Some definite don'ts in V-belt storage need only a little common sense to correct. Never store belts on the floor. Floors can get cold and damp, causing belt materials to deteriorate. Never store V-belts near a heater, radiator, or in the airflow of a heater. Heat will cause the belts to become dry, brittle, and even crack. It is easy to see why V-belts are one of industry's most popular means of power transmission. Sheave groove inspection, belt installation, alignment, and belt tensioning are 4 essentials to remember when considering good drive maintenance and operation.
Wow. I'm glad that we didn't play a drinking game where you drank every time they said the word shiv. I was not expecting that. This next film, I didn't know I had. It's only because I've been going through and moving stuff back into the film vault space at the archive that I found this film. It wasn't in our database. And this is, what I like is I have these niche how-to films that show you, like we just saw, how to take care of your V-belts. This one is how to worship a Hindu shrine at home. Enjoy.
This is a shrine in a traditional middle-class Brahmin home in Madras, South India. It's in a room set apart from the rest of the house, usually entered into only for the purpose of worshiping the sacred image placed within the small cupboard, and contains little that is not used directly in the worship of that household deity. Before worship can be done there each day, the room and its furnishings must be made ready. This is the task of the lady of the house, the wife of the head of the family. The various utensils in this particular home of silver, polished and clean, are placed in readiness for their use. Fresh flowers will have been purchased earlier in the morning from a street vendor and placed in decoration over the shrine doors. To complete the preparations, an auspicious design is made on the floor in front of the shrine. Made of rice flour according to specifications handed down from mother to daughter, the designs change with the seasons, months, and days. This is called in Tamil a kolam, or in Sanskrit a rangavali. It is used to mark the area for all to see as holy ground. The hanging lamp provides almost the only source of light in this otherwise quite dark sanctuary deep within the interior of the home. The lady's husband enters. He wears only a long white dhoti cloth covering the lower half of his body. His upper body is bared out of respect for the god within the shrine, to whom he now prostrates in commencement of his worship. The Lord is awakened from his slumber, and prayers in Tamil and Sanskrit are addressed to him. And when the doors are opened, there is the Lord Krishna, who has been worshipped in this image form by this family for generations. The worshipper removes wilted leaves from yesterday's services and makes ready for the fresh offerings of leaves from the sacred basil plant that, along with offerings of water and later cooked food, will be used in the worship of God. But first, the water must be blessed. This he does by praying to the spirit goddesses of the Ganges and the Calvary rivers to sanctify what is to be used, making it the holiest of holy waters that will be offered to the Lord Krishna and his invisible company of divine attendants. The cups themselves are ritually rinsed for their holy task. One of the chief features of Hindu domestic worship is the use of many water libations. Each one of the cups here before the shrine has a name and a particular function to play in the offerings of water that comprise the first section of this morning worship. For the deity worshipped here is conceived of as the supreme guest in this family's home, the visible presence of the infinite Lord who has come down, taking form and shape out of his love and concern for man in the small bronze image. Here, he, God, in this home known as Krishna, receives the hospitable offerings of his devotees, who advance to this, their divine guest, symbolic spoonsful of water and leaves. To him who may be seen face to face. According to ancient Indian norms of hospitality, when a visitor approaches one's home for a visit, the host goes out to the gate to meet him, there invites him to stay a while, and makes good his offer by bringing water to quench his thirst after a long day in the sun, water to wash his feet, hot and dusty from walking barefooted along the paths and byways of the journey, water for bathing, as well as a clean change of clothes, a refreshing meal, possibly some kind of diversion or entertainment, and finally, a place to sleep. As it is with the ancient Indian norms of hospitality in receiving a guest, so it is in the first offerings of worship to the supreme guest in one's home, commencing even with water for brushing the teeth. Other water offerings will be water for drinking, water for washing the Lord's feet, water for gargling, and water for a symbolic bathing. In all, some 60 advances of spoonsful of water will be done, taking in all perhaps 20 to 30 minutes. Now, although it is not done every day, a second major portion of the daily liturgies is to give the image a real bath, alongside a small stone called a salagrama. This is done with milk from the kitchen. And the milk will also be rinsed off. This portion of the bath is the second major portion of the daily liturgical offerings to God. And when the image itself is not bathed, simply the small stone in its place is bathed. This salagrama stone. But on occasion, the image will be given a careful bath, as here. All this is accompanied by prayers, either aloud or whispered, to the cosmic being known as Purusha, followed by Tamil verses attributed to the saint Periyalvar. A third major portion of the daily liturgy, after the 60 water offerings have been made in the first portion and the milk bath has been finished in the second, comes now, as the image is decorated with clean apparel, placed back in the cupboard, and then given, as it were, perfume or talcum in the form of scented sandalwood paste. That is mixed here in a spoon and then daubed on the stone and on the image. And continuing by camphor offerings. The husband goes to the kitchen for the necessary coals, and then advances this sweet-smelling incense to God and to his invisible company of heavenly companions believed also to be present. The husband moves into the fourth portion of his daily liturgies now with the recitation of what represents all the holy writings that praise the Lord. This he does by reciting the first 2 lines of each of the Vedas, brief portions of the Upanishads, the Sutras, epics, and Puranas, and various of the Vaishnava saints' utterances. All this while, the wife is in the nearby kitchen, probably within earshot, preparing cooked food for the family meal to be consumed after the morning worship service is over. By the time her husband has finished making those 12 offerings of leaves to each of the 12 names of the Lord Vishnu, she has dished out the food and waits for her signal to come in with it. At his beckoning, she brings in the food, rice and curds, and sets them down on the ground marked off as holy in front of the shrine. There will also be curried vegetables, pepper water, all things that are to be consumed in the family meal. And, finishing touch, ghee poured over the rice. Thus the food intended for the family is offered first to the supreme guest, the Lord in his image form, who is gracious enough to come into their home and abide there with them. Blessing this food, the husband sprinkles water and basil leaves onto it, petitioning Mother Earth and Truth itself to sanctify the offerings as fit for Krishna and his divine company, and, with sweeping motions over the food, the worshipper mutters salutations to the 5 vital breaths and to the spirit of Brahman within the Lord's being, that all may be satisfied. And the recitations that conclude this 5th portion of the daily liturgies, the presentation of food offerings, are taken from the Tamil utterances attributed to the female saint Andal, whose offerings to the Lord were always accompanied by love and selflessness. Now, with this, the daily worship of the Lord is almost over. The food that is, as it were, left over from the Lord's table will be returned to the kitchen, and when morning worship is over, eaten gratefully by the family. But before that, the last elements of the liturgy are to be concluded. Dessert will be offered. Bananas and digestants in the form of fresh pond leaves and betel nuts. And all the while that the flame burns from ignited camphor, the worshiper will recite passages drawn from Tamil literature and dedicated to the pleasure of the deity who manifests himself thus to man in his own place. A last water libation will be made, and the cups will then be emptied and placed upside down on their plate. Now, at the beginning of the worship cycle, the very first water offerings were made to this man's guru, his preceptor or his spiritual teacher. And just as he was honored at the commencement of the liturgy, he is now going to be honored again toward the conclusion. This time, the honor will be given to him by symbolically washing his feet in the form of footprints left on a hallowed white cloth. And the leftover water that is used in this gesture of respect is put aside in the square dish used earlier in bathing the image. Why worship in the home plays such a dominant and satisfying role is made clear in the concluding rites. A man or a woman can be a good Hindu and never in his life set foot in a temple. Hinduism is not a congregational faith. Instead, the locus of most of its activity is in the home. Morning worship is essentially over now. The leftover water, that which has touched the very presence of the Lord and is thereby sanctified beyond measure, is now going to be offered to members of the family in a kind of communion service. Indeed, the participants here, the husband who has already served himself first, then serving in turn his mother and his wife, here the participants receive the elements in both kinds. First, the water used to honor the Lord. And second, the water used to wash the symbolic feet of the family's spiritual preceptor. Worshipping thus together, coming before the Lord's very presence, receiving from him not only food as his leftovers for sustenance, but also the holiest of all holy waters to revive them spiritually and to cleanse them of sins, there is no need to resort to temples. The divine guest is finally offered rest in the concluding portion of the morning liturgies. This done, the husband moves out of the sanctuary and toward the other, more mundane duties of the world in which he lives and works. So it is, then, that worship is done daily in the homes of traditional Hindus of piety.
So this is why I collect films, because wow, that I learned something there. That was pretty awesome, and holy cow, doing that every day. And so when we show religious films, they're almost entirely Christian, Protestant. I mean, that's what we have the vast majority of. So to see something that really kind of looks at the observance and the ritual and worship of Hindus that's amazing. So thanks for joining me on that journey. And I was disappointed, I will tell you, I was disappointed that the desserts offered up to Krishna were not as good as the desserts that I've gotten at restaurants that are Hindu, which are amazingly sweet and delicious and so good. They're just syrupy, so rich and sweet. Not bananas and some leaves and some betel nuts. But, I'm not a god, so I don't know. Another aside here is, so the camphor that they burn as part of the ritual is something that I buy and I use. Camphor chips, you can get little chips of them and put them in film cans, and that helps with returning elasticity to the films. Just like with the V-belts, if the films dry out, then they become brittle and they're not flexible anymore. And so camphor chips are one way to help maintain that. And in fact, some film cans used to have little camphor, little pieces of cloth that were dipped in camphor oil that were used. So if you collect films, you might run across it and say, like, ooh, this smells like camphor, which basically smells like mothballs. So there's my AV Geeks aside. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. No, I'm not going to show you a hocha. Although I was like, oh, hocha. But no, I'm not going to do that today. But maybe later this week, we'll watch something. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you watching and your comments. Hopefully I don't disappoint. Hopefully I show you something, at least one thing you've never seen before. Hopefully having the word Shiv mentioned 100 times within a 12-minute period was also something that you've never experienced before. So we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, is that right? Yeah. Everybody have a great rest of your Tuesday and the beginning of your July. It's 7/1 or 7-1. If you're writing checks. And we'll see you tomorrow. Everybody take care. Bye.